Hey guys, Creator Mom. I'm going to share from the section in Reid's book. The book is called Growing Up as the Scapegoat to a Narcissistic Parent, A Guide to Healing. And the section is called Trauma Bonds versus Attachment Bonds. All right, so he says, a trauma bond is forged with a frightening end or a frightened parent, while an attachment bond happens with a stable and loving parent. Joseph Schwartz describes how attachment bonds develop slowly and are based on... Sorry, my computer just went... Okay, and are based on mutuality and care. 2015. Trauma bonds happen instantly and are based in domination and terror. To the child, both types of bonds feel essential for survival. A child with an attachment bond to a parent will feel soothed and regulated when near the parent. A child with a trauma bond to a parent will feel a confusing mixed endangerment, relief, and tension. The child with an attachment bond will feel separate yet connected to their parent. The child with a trauma bond fears being separate from the parent because of the punishment they could face. The child with an attachment bond feels free to make their own decisions. The child with a trauma bond must obey the decisions of the parent. Sorry, I paused my video by accident. And then he talks about the movie Gone Baby Gone, where this girl was kidnapped, but she ends up being kidnapped by an actual police chief because her mom is neglectful and such. So anyways, he says, in Gone Baby Gone, the choices between returning the kidnapped girl to a parent with whom she may share a trauma bond or let her stay with people whom she seems to be developing an attachment bond to. This was the moral dilemma. For a person who is forced to forge a trauma bond to a narcissistically abusive parent, it is imperative that they learn to ignore themselves. No one else is benignly paying attention to them and paying attention to themselves, and expecting the same from others only results in one of the two traumas, annihilation or abandonment. The resulting feelings can seem unsurvivable to the child, so it is adaptive to find a way to pay less attention to themselves. In fact, the child who had to forge a trauma bond to a narcissistic parent may even find it difficult to recognize his or herself in the world. Life can feel passable so long as they are not aware of themselves. Furthermore, being aware of themselves can interfere with doing what's necessary to maintain the trauma bond to the narcissistically abusive parent. This is why being traumatically bonded to a narcissistic abuser can make gaining distance so difficult for the survivor. The premise of recovery from this kind of abuse involves paying attention to yourself. Yet, this act can feel like inviting the very traumas you have been having to avoid all your life. You may have had to keep your focus on what is going on all around you at all costs in order to stave off the anxiety or even terror that would otherwise have flooded in. The warning signals from the lessons of the trauma bond that can flash include feeling completely unjustified and considering separating from the narcissistically abusive parent or family, wondering if you're making all of it up, etc. Another common fear at this point is that if you pay attention to yourself and what you like versus do not like in relationships, that you will never find someone whom you are satisfied with. This concern can seem very reasonable, yet directly mirrors the dilemma you faced earlier in life. If you had decided that you were not happy with your narcissistically abusive parent, then you would have been left with no one to attach to. I don't think these concerns are necessarily what they seem at face value, but rather serve the function of keeping the survivor in the only kind of bond they have ever known, the trauma bond to the narcissistic abuser. Additionally, they lead you to not do the thing, which is paying attention to yourself, that would have gotten you either destroyed or left before. There's some child crying outside, I think. Strategies to break the trauma bond. Schwartz points out that an attachment bond is built slowly while a trauma bond develops instantly. That is useful to frame what I'm about to say, because this is a process that requires compassion and patience towards oneself, even when such compassion and patience does not feel available. One way to gradually and compassionately help yourself out of the trauma bond is to set an intention to pay attention to yourself throughout your days. Activities like mindful meditation or connecting to your bodily experience via a daily yoga practice can be very helpful in this regard. Engaging in these activities puts you in the center of your attention. So yeah. I feel like I can kind of relate with that. I'm not really sure where I would personally be at on the attachment scale. Because I feel as though I detached from my parent quite early. In a way. But I think in another way I can relate with feeling like, oh, am I making this all up? I can definitely relate with that feeling and that thought. I don't even know. I mean, I guess my bond would have to be a trauma bond, because I definitely don't feel like an independent self around the parent, and I probably never did. I remember when I was little, well, not only did I try to run away once when I was like 5 or something, for I don't know why, but when I remember, I think we were at Disney World. I feel like everything in my life traumatic happened like 9 or 10 years old, but just like a lot of shit went down, I think, in that chunk of life. But I remember having, an issue with my mom or something, and we were waiting in line for a ride or something like that, and I think my stepfather was there too. I think we all went, and I remember being mad at her and, not agreeing with her, I guess, and kind of like asserting myself in the fact that I must have been younger than 9 or 10. God, I could have been 7 or 8. I don't even know. But I went to stand next to the people behind us. Kind of like I distanced myself from her, like, I'm not with you. And I placed myself next to other people. I don't know. It was really weird. It was just like saying, like, I don't feel like I belong with you. So I think I want to say rejected my mother from an earlier age in a way. Maybe because I just felt like I was safer apart from her mentally or emotionally or something like that. That might have been the case. I definitely didn't reach to her for like too much comfort, or snuggling or hugs. I think I distanced myself from her from an early age. She told me that even when I was like 2 or 3 or so, that I used to fight her when she would go to hug me. And it's just like, well, and that she would do that to me as like a punishment, but she said it in a laughing manner, like, yeah, haha, that's how I would punish you. Or like, if you did something wrong, I would just like hug you and you would scream and cry or whatever. But I don't know. And I see in my own children that I have one child who is like more affectionate, like he likes affection and likes hugs, and I have another who does, but he can kind of not live without it, because I know children need affection. But he doesn't seem as affectionate, but he still likes, hugs and things. He doesn't mind that. And then my other child, my youngest, I don't like to say that would be like me, but he tends to lean towards more the side of, no, like, don't hug me. Like, he just is not, like, that big on affection, but he likes to be in charge of the affection, He likes to be in charge of when he wants a hug and requesting it, as opposed to just someone just hugging him. He's just not comfortable with that. And, those boundaries, and when I'm realizing what kids like and what they don't like, need to be honored and respected, Well, especially when it comes to their own body and affection and things like that. And, those types of boundaries. So anyways, I hope maybe you can find a way that you related with what I read. If you could, you can just leave it in the comments below.